This is SBR's Football Betting Daily.
What up, football fans? It is Friday, January 11th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, which means it is time for the Audible. I am with the legends. We got Donnie Rightside in the house and Whale Capper for the full hour. I was so pumped up about last week's show. I really needed to bounce back from a terrible week 17, irresponsible, made too many plays, went 1-8. I bounced back, went 8-1. And I'm very, very excited about breaking down these games. I don't see them as simple home teams that are going to take care of business. I see a lot of value. I can't wait to break these games down. I'm pumped, baby. I'm pumped. So, first off, and I know we have an hour to get through 4 games. Seems like a lot of time. It's not, because we're going to bang the shit out of these games, and we need as much time as possible. First off, I want to give a shout out to Donnie Rightside. Donnie, how you doing out there, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm looking forward to the show. Once a week, we get the condensed version here on a Friday. Look, a lot of people already in the chat box at lunchtime over here back into the States. We're going to have some fun, man. We got 4 huge games this weekend to break down. Let's have some fun to get it popping, man. 2 great hosts here along with me. Let's get it going.
Oh, I'm so pumped. Whale Capper, my guy. It is such a treat to have you for the full hour. How you doing out west?
I'm fantastic. Cannot wait for this. Been looking forward to it all week.
So have I, man. So have I. I'm so pumped. Quick shout out to everybody in the chat. We got Barry Miller. Shout out for being first one in the chat. Abazaba 78, Sammy the Frog in the house. Van City, Chris representing my city in the house. Odar Lira straight out of Venezuela. What a great group. Let's get to work. Barry Miller, Brandon Cocan, Vegas Gun, my man Tom Gunn in the house. Jose Contreras, Gun Alive TV. Alec, let's get right to work. But first, I had to show that horrifying record after going 1-8. I was only up 0.2 units, and it was embarrassing after all the hard work and all the great angles that we had all year to be heading into the playoffs up 0.2 units. I was embarrassed. So, Rafa, could you please show what my record is right now? Actually, it's Freddie Fortune in the house. I'm back, baby. I am back up 7 units plus 3.6 ROI in a spot that I like being in. Let's, without further ado, get right to work. First off, we'll go in order. We're going to go Colts at Chiefs. I find the Colts extremely appealing. I've made no bets yet. I also find the first half under appealing. Not the full game, but the first half under. Open Colts -5, now a mix of -5s and 5.5s. Total open at 56. Now a couple of 56.5s, mostly 57. The weather in Kansas City on Saturday is snow. 34 Fahrenheit, the high, 29 Fahrenheit, the low, with 11 miles per hour. Andrew Luck is on a warpath. I feel like it's clear that the Colts have a much better defense than the Chiefs. The Colts will run the ball down the Chiefs' throat and keep Mahomes off the field. Frank Reich has been incredible. The Chiefs are 0-6 in home playoff games since Joe Montana won one for them 25 years ago. The Colts have won 10 of 11 and are one hot, dangerous number 6 seed. Colts are 6-0 both against the spread, straight up in their 6 games against teams with a winning record this season. They ran for 200 yards against the Texans. Kansas City's defense ranks number 27th versus the run, giving 132.1 yards per game. Chiefs were 31st in the league, allowing 5 yards per carry, which will keep Mahomes on the sideline. Colts defense ranks 5th in the NHL in efficiency during a 10-1 stretch. Colts have been the NFL's stingiest defense since Week 7, giving up an average of 16.4 points. Andy Reid has lost outright in each of his past 4 games as a home favorite in the postseason, including twice with Kansas City. Yes, Chiefs are first in the league in yards per game, yards per play, points per game. Mahomes making his playoff start, 50 touchdown, 5,000-yard season. The Chiefs at Arrowhead were, the home team, allowed 18 points per game. That's 6th best in the NFL. Their defense looked good at home. 2nd in sack rate. Referee John Hussey averaged 14.6 flags per game during the regular season, 5th fewest in the NFL. The Chiefs were the most penalized team in the league. Their defensive secondary was especially grabby, committing a league-high 24 fouls for defensive holding. 24 fouls, while the rest of the league averaged just 9.8. I like the Colts. I like the first half under. Donnie Rightside, let's start with you. Colts at Chiefs, divisional playoffs. What are you thinking?
Yeah, early look at this game, Jimmy. Before we get in like too deep there, the 57 really sticks out, and I know both of these teams can get up and down the field, but we're also talking about what you're saying. Like, I don't know how much the snow is going to play into it, or maybe the possible rainy conditions, windy and cold. But it's still a dome team going outdoors, third straight road game for the Indianapolis Colts, and usually in the playoffs, more likely than not in the fourth quarter, you're going to get one team salting it away. And how many times have we talked this year, Jimmy, throughout the shows? We're not talking about 41 or 42 points. This is 57 points in a playoff game. Now, also the breakdown that everybody's going to want to know is what's going to take place, who's going to overcome what strength. 18 sacks during the regular season for the Indianapolis Colts, held up really well against a nice front last week against the Houston Texans. And I think the Kansas City Chiefs get a little bit, not enough shine on their defense because they're usually involved where their offense scores in, 3 or 4 minutes time. They're back out there. They had 52 sacks this year. So you're going to have strength on strength to see who's going to penetrate this one. But I think it really comes down to start it off is one team is red hot, but the other one is rested. It's going to be fun to break this game down here today.
Oh, I can't wait to break it down. So we'll each give you guys 2 chances here. Now we'll go with the whale capper. Whale capper, I'm liking Colts on the spread. I'm also liking the first half under. Can't wait to hear your angles on this.
So the point that Donnie raised that resonated the most with me is that this is going to be the most fun game to break down. This might be the most fun game to break down in handicap that we get all season. There are so many narratives at play that support both sides in this one. It makes it, there is no clear right side here. If my handicap where I ended up here, I'm looking for. I don't think either defense is going to cover themselves in glory in this game whatsoever. I think there's an edge on the full game over. I think there's an edge on the Chiefs team total over. I wouldn't talk anyone away from playing the Colts, but I will caution you that a power numbers approach to this game. If this was a neutral situation, there are free points still to back the Chiefs. Okay. The problem is this is not a neutral situation, and the Colts are especially in an especially tough spot. This is their 3rd week in a row on the road in a must-win game. This is a very, very difficult spot to be in. You look back through years past when a team has to travel 3 weeks in a row and they're playing a team coming off of a bye at home. It's not, you are already starting with a disadvantage. Add to this that the Chiefs match up especially well with their passing attack against your defense if you're the Indianapolis Colts. And I think, again, going back to I'm holding a Colts 100-1 to win the AFC ticket in my pocket here. And I am somewhat at a free roll here to be pretty bullish on the Chiefs in this game. But I think the nice way to kind of look for a potential middle here is to get a Chiefs team total over. Because I really think, the likelihood that you're going to see a tight Mahomes, first ever playoff game for you, that narrative has just driven me nuts this week. Pat Mahomes just went out there and won the MVP for crying out loud. He's going to 100% show up and ball in this game. What Andy Reid, what Bieniemy are doing and with the offense in Kansas City is without a doubt, the best that we've seen across the league this year. From start to finish. They have weaknesses on defense, sure. Does that make the Colts live? Sure. But I think at the end of the day, the way that we look at the way that the AFC playoff is shaped, you have a weak Patriots team and you have 2 tired teams in the Chargers and the Colts. This is the year the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl. I've taken a ton of liability off of my Colts 100-1 AFC ticket previously. When before they beat the Texans, I took a big chunk of Chiefs to win the AFC, and I still think they pull off a victory here. I'm playing with a little bit of house money, so I can kind of take some of these more aggressive positions, I suppose. But Chiefs team total is my favorite look in this game.
Wow, Chiefs team total. Most of the chat here liking the Chiefs. Ron Lofton saying, well, on point. Diggy Balls, I like the Chiefs on the spread. Marco says Colts schedule was easy. Dom Ricci, I took Chiefs -5 as soon as I could, an hour after winning a max bet on the Colts. Ron Crawford, the question is, can the Colts keep up the scoring? Wow. Ricky Levine, Chiefs all day. Taylor H, Mahomes will shred that cover too. Sammy the Frog with you. Whale Capper saying Chiefs team total over 31 is free. JP Luck is already feeling on top of the world with health. I don't see him winning here and not feeling too bad about it. Jose Villegas says Colts get blown out. They play a real team this week. Donnie, is it a recency bias for me? Or, I mean, it's 10 of 11 games the Colts have won. I just feel like they're a very, very dangerous squad. And if I'm going to get 5 or 5.5 points, I think I'm going to take it. None of you guys have mentioned what you thought about that first half under yet. I'd love it if you would touch on it, because I think there's the possibility of a high-scoring fourth quarter. But I think the Colts will do whatever they can to keep Mahomes off the field. Donnie Rightside, Colts and Chiefs.
Yeah, and look, I like the full game under 57 just because of the number I'm getting. And again, I'm going to throw into a little bit of one of those little coin flips that might help you. Who knows? Maybe we do get snow during the game. Maybe we get rain during the game. That doesn't help the over. It can only help the under. So if you're leaning in that direction, Jimmy, I agree. First half under, and again, full game under. But if we're taking a look, I think this weekend has a little bit of a setup about to take place because of everybody just saying, look at the dogs. Look at how much they're cashing in. This week's a little bit different. These are unique circumstances where all the better teams are rested now. And a lot of these situations, Will Capper brings up, we're looking at 3 straight road games for a lot of these. And we're not talking about 3 straight road games where it's Raiders. We're talking about playoff level must-win situations. You know what I mean? Now, look at the Colts here, Jimmy. I can't take anything away from what the Colts done. You can only beat who is on your schedule. But let's take a look who they actually beat on their schedule and what they're running up against here in the Kansas City Chiefs. They go to, I'm just talking from the Colts' perspective here. October the 4th, they go to New England. They get flamed 38-24. But let's take a look at who we're playing the rest of the way in the styles that we're playing. The New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills. All right, so you get the Oakland before they got injured. They can throw it around a little bit. But then you're getting the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Tennessee Titans, the Miami Dolphins, the Jaguars again, Houston, Dallas, the Giants, who put up 309 yards and almost lost to that team, and then Tennessee and Houston. What I'm trying to say in this situation is, yes, you're getting those wins, but did your defense really come to the plate against an elite top 10 style offense that can air it out multiple looks with some really nice play calling here? I like what the Colts have done all year long on defense. But if you're telling me we're going to defend against, Deshaun Watson and just play his own and he can't beat it, and we're going to get Blaine Gabbert a couple times, and the Giants on one leg without Odell Beckham Jr., Dallas in a ridiculously horrible spot, yes, you did shut them out. But there's some certain things that you have to key up on and say, what did these teams actually do when they were playing them? Because Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City offense, as long as there's not a monsoon out there, they're going to be able to put up some points back there. And I'm interested to see this Colts defense, which I like very much improved from the past couple of years. They're going to be tested in this one. So I'm not looking for a way to take the Colts. I think the Colts are a good football team. Can they win it? Absolutely. You've seen them come down the stretch. But a rested and ready Andy Reid football team at Arrowhead, even though you say, hey, Donnie, look, they haven't been that good at Arrowhead in the playoffs the past decade or so. I understand that. But I'm just looking to make styles, make fights here. I think the Colts can put up some points, yes. But I think Kansas City is going to be able to do stuff to this Indianapolis team that they haven't seen yet, at least over the past, 12, 13 games?
You find Andy Reid's record, losing outright each of his past 4 games as a home favorite in the postseason. Do you take that lightly? How do you handle that stat? Is Andy Reid
It's almost an anomaly. It's almost an anomaly because when you think of Arrowhead, playing at Seattle, playing down in the Dome, it's a decided advantage. So it's almost like when you look at Kansas City's record, you want to wipe your eyes because you think it should be exactly opposite. Like, ooh, they've won 10 straight home games. I can't understand how you can have that big of an advantage at home, and in the playoffs, it just doesn't help you. It's crazy. So you do have to include that in there. But I'm trying to say, you know what? Prior to this, and I'm looking at, a new team in here and what they're trying to do, I just think the Chiefs overall are a better team. They're at home. They're number 1 seed for a reason. And maybe Arrowhead rises up for once and actually is, a formidable foe for the road team.
Anthony Mastronardi says, do you, Donnie, or Will Capper know how many games Patrick has played in the snow? Texas A&M product. How do you think he'll handle the cold weather?
I mean, how many games has Andrew Luck played in the snow, being from Stanford and all that? So, I mean, I don't think that's really big of a deal. And then if you're talking about that, I mean, they're used to practicing in cold weather in Kansas City. When you have a dome team going outdoors, you would think Kansas City would still have the advantage. It does get cold in Kansas City.
Yeah, all of Patrick Mahomes is a small sample size, so we had never seen him play in a playoff game. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty for sure in what to expect out of Pat Mahomes. I'll just answer the Andy Reid playoff home favorite sloppiness, obviously it's Matt Nagy's fault. He took that with him to Chicago. Now that you got a fresh set of coordinators in there, I think we see a much better performance. No, but more realistically, if you look at a lot of the quarterbacks in a lot of these Chiefs games that they've lost at home, you had to go back to Joe Montana to find a playoff winning home quarterback in Kansas City. Guess who may be of that level of quarterback? Pat Mahomes. He's the MVP of the league this year. He is doing things that no one else across the league could do. And it's not just because he has a dynamic set of weapons to throw to, but he's got a talent and a skill set that is absolutely perfect for this time in the league. And it feels like it's going to come together for the Chiefs this year. And weather be damned, and playoff Andy Reid be damned. I think the Chiefs get it done. Probably not in style, but I think they definitely put a pretty impressive score up. To real quickly to address your first half under thought, if the Colts win the coin toss, the first half under is like lock city. If the Colts get the ball first, they are going to put together a nice little 6-minute drive, really lean on the run, really try to sequence their plays so that they're getting short third down opportunities, converting those third downs. You're going to see a lot of rushing on the ground. I doubt you see them try to pick up the pace and try to score quickly to put pressure on the Chiefs. I think you see a methodical, work their way into the game type of performance, and the first half under will be extremely live. If the Chiefs win the coin toss, I would expect them to try to strike quick. The Chiefs strike quickly anyway. Like the Chiefs, I feel like an average length of touchdown scoring drive, the Chiefs have to be the shortest of all of the teams in the league. Like they just hit home runs consistently. And I would expect that if the Chiefs win the coin toss and they go out there and score a touchdown right away, if you're holding the first half under ticket, you're probably squirming, right? Like it's going to be like, oh man, because now the Colts have to come answer. We know the Colts can't. And the one strength that the Chiefs really have in terms of their defense is the pass rush. That gets totally neutralized by probably the best offensive line that's left in the playoffs in Indianapolis. So it's going to be if you see the Colts win the coin toss, you're going to feel great about that first half under. If it goes the other way, then it's still live, but you're going to need a little bit of first ever playoff game jitters from Mahomes in the first half of that game, I think, to get that one home.
Do you find when you're capping this game, do you expect one half to be higher scoring? When I was breaking down this game, I guess I had just this kind of an image of if the Chiefs need points late, they'll get them. If Andrew Luck needs points late, he's capable of getting them. I was a little afraid of taking both halves on the under first half and full game. What do you think about that?
Strongly agree. The second half will be the higher scoring half for a couple of reasons. And you laid them out. If the Chiefs are up, the likelihood that Andy Reid properly manages the clock and puts this game away without giving the ball back to Andrew Luck to get back into the game is virtually zero. If the Colts are up, the likelihood that you're going to be able to keep Mahomes from scoring because you're talking about a defense that's now third week on the road. They're going to have some fatigue issues in the second half here. I would very much expect at any point if the Chiefs are down in this game that they're going to be live to come back. We saw in the game against the Rams very memorably, the Chiefs, down 10, looked like they were out of the game. And the next thing you blink and they're up 4. This team can 100% get after it, putting points on the board. And I would expect that the second half is a lot more wide open than the first half. I don't think that either of these teams can run effectively enough in the second half to play keep away, really. And I think that lends itself to kind of like you mentioned, that if there's a higher scoring half, it's going to be the second half.
I like that. I like where I stand. I'm going to move forward with the Colts on the spread in the first half under. Crypto King asking about the money line for the Chiefs. You can get it anywhere between minus 210 and minus 230. And my man Bubba giving us an interesting point here that I copied and pasted. He said this head ref calls 62% unders. That and the weather plays big on first half and full game under. Wow, this is fun. This is fun, and I can't wait to break all these games I find so exciting. Here we go, Cowboys at Rams. At this point, now I've made no bets, and the opening lines, again, that I use are bet online opening lines. I have a lot of respect for them being first to the mark. At this point, I want to take the Cowboys to cover And again, I'm interested in the first half under and the full game under. And the full game under has become more and more appealing the longer I've capped this game. Open Rams -7. -7's across the board. You can get a -7.5 or a +7.5, but you have to pay for it. Total opened at 49. Now almost all 49.5s. Pinnacle just hung a 50. The weather in Los Angeles on Saturday, partly cloudy, 62 Fahrenheit, 49, a low of 49, 7 miles per hour, high of 62. Dallas 8-1 at home this season, but just 3-5 on the road. Cowboys have won each of their 3 games as an underdog of at least 7 points outright this season. Goff is 4-11-1 against the spread in 16 career starts against teams with a winning record, including 0-3-1 against the spread this season. The Rams' run defense is a concern. Zeke Elliott can rush on this defense. This Rams defense allowed a higher yards per average than any other team in the league this season. And I know that there are some ways of explaining that, but we can get into a little bit of that in a bit. The best way to keep a high-scoring team off the field, obviously, is to run the ball. Rams went 7-1 at the Coliseum and averaged 37 points a game, but their offense has not been the same since Cooper Kupp was injured. Marinelli's an incredible D coordinator. We got 2 linebackers in Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, who are extremely good, maybe the best tandem in the league. Rams ranked 2nd in NFL in ESPN's pass rush win rate. How often a pass rusher is able to beat his block within 2.5 seconds. You can thank Aaron Donald for that. He led all players. Rams finished the regular season ranked 1st in offensive efficiency in the NFC. Todd Gurley, good to go after a bye week. They say he's fresh and strong. Referee John Perry threw the 2nd most flags for roughing the passer. This is an aggressive Rams defensive front. They were called for six penalties for roughing the passer this year. Donnie Rightside, I like the Cowboys to cover, and I'm looking at these unders very, very closely. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, I'm going to go against you in this one here. Last week, I got outside of the shenanigans. I had the Cowboys money line, so I don't have to worry about no kickers and 2-point conversions because I love the Cowboys last week. I love the Cowboys when they're at home, and I love the Cowboys against teams they match up well against because if you saw the game plan, or if you want to call it a game plan, by Brian Schottenheimer to run the football repeatedly up the middle, even though they weren't getting any yards. And then also when you needed a play by Russell Wilson, like he always does, he bails you out and make big plays. And as soon as he makes a big play, you hand it off 3 more times up the middle and don't do anything. So I think that's going to change a little bit this week. But here's the problem that I'm going to run into if I'm looking to back the Dallas Cowboys. 7 points seems like a great number. It does. Hey, look, I understand that you can run on the Rams. But what makes Dallas a good team and teams that I want to watch against is the other side of the football. Because, yes, you can run against the Rams, but your recipe can't be give me Zeke 30 times and run the ball because the Rams are going to put up points. Well, Donnie, I watched the New Orleans Saints only get 10 points. That was at home. That was a great defensive effort. But lately, if you look at what the Dallas Cowboys do in the front 7, they're a great front 7. Their front 4 gets immense pressure, but look who they're getting the pressure off of the past couple weeks. 4 weeks ago, you went in Indianapolis, one of the best, strongest offensive lines in the league, which the Rams have a really good one. They kept the pressure away from Andrew Luck and went 23-0. Then you have Tampa Bay, the Giants, and Seattle, back-to-back teams with rough offensive lines where that front 4 gets pressure and exposes the quarterbacks, which always helps your secondary. That's not going to take place. I love the Dallas Cowboys on turf. Why? Because they're explosive in their front 7. They're built on speed, outside pass rushers, the 2 linebackers in the middle who bite on everything play action because they're so aggressive, which you can get away with in most spots. They're not going to get away with it this week. You're going to be slowed down on grass. The pass rush isn't going to hit home. DeMarcus Lawrence isn't going to dominate Whitworth and the tackles there for the Los Angeles Rams. And what's going to take place in here is, yes, if you are the Dallas Cowboys, you want to run the football. You want to keep it close. But what's going to happen if the Cowboys get down 14-3 in the second quarter and they say, all right, Dak, let's go win this football game with Cole Beasley on one leg. You lost Allen Hurns last week. I do like Amari Cooper, but ever since the Eagles had absolutely zero secondary whatsoever, Amari Cooper's not burning it up, 6 catches for 140 yards and a touchdown every week. That's not happening here. Aqib Talib, he should be up to the challenge. Is he going to stop Amari Cooper? Absolutely not. But he can slow him down. And there is a man-child in the middle of that offensive line that when Dak Prescott holds the football long like he does, Aaron Donald will split double teams and wreck the entire offense. Early in the week, looking majorly for a way to take the Dallas Cowboys. The more I look at styles make fights here, I don't think the Cowboys can just come in and say we're going to run the ball 35 times and keep it close. I think the Rams are going to score, and I think Dak Prescott's going to struggle here.
Interesting stuff. Eddie Euler saying Mark Lawrence picked the over in Cowboys Rams. I love Mark Lawrence very much. Whale Capper, you've had a great read on the Rams all year. I've loved hearing your breakdowns with this football team. Cowboys at Rams. What are you thinking here?
So the first play I made this week, and the only one that I feel especially confident, is in the over in this game. I bet over 49 on the opener. I looked at this game as effectively a carbon copy of Rams Seahawks that we got to see twice, both of which sailed over 60, let alone 49. When we look at, you brought up a pretty interesting point, Jimmy, I thought, which was they haven't looked the same since Cooper Kupp was out of the offense. I think that what actually was going on there, they had some pretty key injuries to some of their interior offensive line, and it really affected the sanctity of the pocket. Like the pocket really started falling apart on Goff. If you put Goff under a little bit of pressure, he doesn't look as good. They also played a handful of games on the road, and Goff on the road is a very different quarterback than Goff at home. I would expect that we see Goff. I mean, the entirety of a Rams play, the entirety of an overplay, is basically assuming that, Goff got some of the first playoff game jitters out of the way last year in that horrific game against the Falcons, and that he comes out and plays a pretty confident game at home in this spot, and that McVay has had, he's been keeping some of the more dynamic and more kind of innovative aspects of their offense under wraps over the last quarter of the season. I think because he kind of got the sense that defenses around the league were started catching on to some of his tendencies in terms of how he was utilizing Gurley in the passing game and out of the 11 formation, and so he's kind of put a lot of that aside in order to kind of keep it fresh, I suspect, for the playoffs. I would expect the Rams here to be live out of the gate, put pressure on the Cowboys right away in this spot. The only thing that scares me at all about a full game over in this one is if it's like 31-17 and Dallas has to go passing 4 downs and you got Dak scrambling around and throwing inaccurate passes and chucking it out, 4th and 10 and he throws it out of bounds and stuff like that. Like I could see that happening down the home stretch here and keeping Dallas under 20 points, which would make it a real sweat on the over 49 for the game. But again, kind of going back to the way I think this plays out, mostly like the Seahawks, Rams that we've seen a couple of times. I think the Cowboys and the Seahawks are pretty compatible teams in terms of the way they like to approach the game. And I would expect that you see the Rams at least through the first three. I mean, the Cowboys at least through the first 3 quarters, at least kind of stay within striking distance of the Rams before the Rams put them away in the 4th.
Wow, everybody agreeing on the over. Only one person has come in thinking that the under was in play. That's WW Train, under at the half, and liking Dallas. Donnie, after hearing what Whale has to say, reading some of the great cappers on our chat, what's your final reaction to this spot, Cowboys at Rams?
Yeah, I think Sean McVay has to live up to his billing. I mean, he had his mulligan last year, right, versus the Atlanta Falcons. A veteran team came in, beat up the young kid and his young quarterback and his young team. They've seen it there. They're rested. They're ready. And it's just, again, it comes down to a lot of times, Jimmy, these are really good football teams. That's why they're in the playoffs. That's why they won playoff games. But I just think the style is going to help the Rams out a little bit in this case as opposed to working with the Dallas Cowboys. And if you're looking at betting the over, I agree with all the sentiment here. Because if the Rams push the pace, which they should, look, Sean McVay's not going to come out and say, you know what, we lost last year. Let's hand it to Gurley 15 times in the first half and feel this game out 3-3 at the half. That's not what they do. They're going to take shots right away. And if you like this game to go over, then the Rams are going to cover this football game. Vice versa, if you're looking at a Dallas Cowboys line out there and you say, I think Dallas can stay within 7, do you think Dallas is going to lose this game 33-28? No. Dallas going to have to keep this game at a lower clip, 24-17, 21-17 for them to win, because that means ball control. That means Dak rolling out of the pocket, getting 8 to 9 yards on a 3rd and 4 to keep the drive going. Zeke Elliott, 25 to 35 touches in this game. But I don't see that happening because I don't think you can do that against the Rams. They're going to put pressure. So if you like the Rams in this game, the Rams ain't winning 21-17 in this football game. They're going to win by pushing this into the 30s, and I just don't think Dallas can keep up. When push comes to shove and Dak Prescott has to throw the ball 40 times in this game on a banged-up wide receiving core, Aaron Donald coming up the middle, I just don't think he can get done. I look for an interception or 2 out of Dak Prescott and also a key strip sack fumble, probably deep in his own territory to try to change this game up. I just think it's a Rams game for me here in this one.
Rams allowed the highest yards per rush average than any other team in the league this season. You think that if the Rams get off to even a 7-0 lead that they won't be hammering Zeke 30 times here, Donnie?
Look, I think that's their path to victory, but I just don't think it would stack up. And when you're looking at it, I bet the Dallas Cowboys last week because I liked it. And, if you follow me on Twitter, I love the live tweet. I love to give my opinions during the game. And you're going to have to accept it. If you take the Dallas Cowboys in this game, there's going to be 2 to 3 instances where you're going to say, Jason Garrett just fucked me right there. Like, what is he doing out there? And I don't think Sean McVay is going to do that to Rams backers or fans in this case. But if you bet the Dallas Cowboys, be prepared. 2 or 3 plays in this game where you say, why did they dial that up? What are they doing? A 4th and 1 punt from midfield, a 3rd and 6 inches where you throw a play action deep in your own territory as opposed to just handing the football off and getting a first down. That's going to happen to you if you back the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Everything points to me again, Jimmy, for the Rams here.
Wow. Rosie says, Donnie always on point with his breakdowns. Corey Jackson says, with Donnie on this one, spot on. Max unit bet for me on the Rams. Whale Capper, I'm pretty concerned.
Hey, man, if last week's record is any indication, we should be doing the hosting and you should be the talent.
Exactly.
Man. I mean, crying out loud. Let's don't get down on yourself here, Jimmy. And let me kind of make a case for Dallas since we kind of seem to be rowing the boat in the same direction here. You look across all of the dogs this week, right? We've seen this run of underdogs in the playoffs, which has been pretty historic. Right, like underdogs are on a 15-1 or something run, winning straight up a ton of these games too. It's just crazy, and I've been trying to wrap my head around like, why is this happening? Like is this some sort of overall like the market is just underpricing like the underdogs in the NFL for some reason? And the only thing I can really come up with is that just like overall the quality of the teams that have been in the playoffs, the quality of the quarterbacks in the playoffs has been better. And if you look across the underdogs in the divisional round this week. The one that is in clearly the best situation is Dallas. Like, it's not even close. Like, not only does Dallas get coming off of a home game, not only do they get to go to Los Angeles, right by where they do their training camp in Oxnard, where they have plenty of fans who will be in the Coliseum. I would expect the fan split in the Coliseum to be at the worst 50-50 for the Cowboys, probably more like 75-25. There's not a lot of like, around LA, there's not a lot of people who are like, oh, I got my Rams tickets. I've been waiting for this playoff game. No. People have their Saturday night plans set up and they're like, oh, there's a football game. Who's playing? Oh, it's the Rams. Aren't they LA? Oh, that's cool. Like that is the mentality around here. And I would expect fully in the Coliseum that there will be Dallas support. So you have not only a location that is, low, not a great home field advantage. You haven't been traveling recently. You're coming off of a win where your quarterback should have inspired some confidence in his play. All of these things are good indicators that the Cowboys are live dogs here. The problem is they got to match up with a team that can absolutely put scoreboard pressure on them. And whether or not the Dallas Cowboys can keep up with that is a question that I do not think they have the answer to. And if the Cowboys cover, is it probably going to be a backdoor cover like we saw with the Seahawks last week? I would guess yes. And if you're asking me if I'm counting on a backdoor cover when I'm betting that Cowboys +7 or 7.5 or whatever number you get, if I'm counting on that backdoor cover and I see Dak Prescott, with the look of fear in his eyes as Aaron Donald is bearing down on him up the middle, I am throwing that ticket in the garbage because it is not coming through.
Oh, it's a great breakdown, you guys. A ton to think about and goddamn talk. Wow, we are only 24 hours away from these huge football games. My palms are sweating. I'm foaming at the mouth. Okay, let's move on to Sunday's action. God, do these games just keep getting better and better and better and better. I love it so much. Chargers at Patriots. I am very close to I know everybody's loving the Chargers. I know it's very, very dangerous betting against the Patriots in Foxborough. Not a smart thing, but I'm thinking of making a move on the Chargers money line and a move on the Chargers spread. And I'm thinking of making a move on the over here. Open Patriots -4.5. Now -4s across the board. Total open at 47. Now you can get anywhere between 47, 47.5, 48. Foxborough on Sunday. Partly cloudy. 29 Fahrenheit. 16 is the low. 7 miles per hour. I think Brady looked old this year. First time I've really said that. Phillip Rivers 0-7 in his career against Brady. Chargers are 8-0 this season when they've had to travel outside of LA. Rivers was second in the NFL in QBR in road games during the regular season. Chargers have won outright in each of their past 5 games as an underdog. Rivers 6-1 against the spread with 4 straight outright wins in 7 career postseason starts as an underdog. Chargers have 2 edge rushers, Bosa and Ingram, who can pressure Brady. Patriots were the only team to go undefeated at home this year. New England 4th in offensive efficiency, 2nd in defensive efficiency at home. Can New England's linebackers and secondary take away Rivers' ability to make high percentage throws? Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, inside breaking routes are very tough to defend. Patriots allowed 4.9 yards rushing yards per play during the regular season, tied for 3rd worst. Is Melvin Gordon healthy? Can he take advantage of that? The Patriots also allowed 59 passing yards of 20-plus yards in 2018. The Chargers receivers should be able to take advantage of that. Patriots are well rested. They're healthy. Coming off a playoff bye. Chargers, another flight across the country. 8 of the Patriots' past 9 games have gone under. Referee Ron Torbert's crew through the second lowest total flags, 13.7 per game this season. Donnie Rightside, Chargers at Patriots.
What a game, because what you're looking at here is 2 dichotomies just coming, like 2 semis just going full force. One saying we don't ever lose at home in this situation. The other one saying, well, we don't ever play a home game and we never lose on the road. And these are 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks. And when you look at it, say, man, they're probably pretty even up. Tom Brady, 7-0 versus, Phillip Rivers over his career. I mean, you can't look at that because they played, half those games probably a decade ago. But the one thing that was so impressive last week, the one game I really got wrong last week was the Baltimore Ravens, because we talked about it last week. Even Whale Capper said, if you look at this game, a couple bounces either way, we saw it differently. And I thought the same exact style would hold up. And then once you see Brandon Mebane Jatavis Brown is out, I'm like, man, this team is going to be so soft up the middle. And Gus Bradley pulled an absolute ace out of the deck and embarrassed that entire coaching staff for the Baltimore Ravens. It was one of the more unbelievable things I've seen, that literally said, instead of beefing up and getting bigger, we're going to get smaller and play 7 defensive backs. And Lamar Jackson had no idea, not even a clue. For a guy that runs around, like if you're like Mike Vick, where you could just take a 7-step drop, wait 3 seconds and run around, he had no idea what was going on and took sack after sack after sack because of what Gus Bradley did last week. And I'm not going to look against it. But when you're looking at the New England Patriots, when I look at this line, it just seems short. But it is short for a reason when you try to break it down, because this isn't the New England Patriots of a decade ago. There's no Randy Moss. Heck, not even last year. There's no Brandon Cooks even left on this team. Gronkowski's on one leg. So you're telling me it's going to be Julian Edelman is your big play threat at wide receiver. You have a really good offensive line, a quarterback that can't move at all anymore in the pocket, and a couple decent running backs. So I'll start off the first salvo here saying, I see these 2 teams getting into it in the cold. Not going to be any snow, looks like in Foxborough. About 25 degrees. Ball control, ball control, ball control, ball control. I like the under in this one.
Whew. Not going well for my confidence. Whale Capper.
Hey, you know what? The way it's playing out, someone's going to be right.
That's the best part about it. Yeah, we just go opposite each other. Be like, damn, what a great show.
Okay, so this again really boils down to the situational handicap against the Chargers, man. Brutal spot. 3rd week in a row on the road. I keep hammering this point, but of the 3 roadies, this was the worst. Not only did they have to fly to Baltimore and play early last week, they went back to LA for some reason instead of staying on the East Coast and trying to find, some kind of, solution to, the time zone situation. Now they go back across the country. This is a lot of wear and tear on a team that's already put a lot of energy and effort into this season. They pushed hard in some of the later games this season because they were really trying to get that 1 seed. Didn't come through, and now as a punishment, they have to go on the road and get these wins, and it's just extremely tough. If this game were being played in a neutral situation, I would say that the Chargers cover the 4-point spread like 70-80% of the time. Mm-hmm. If this would and I would say that they win more than 50% of the time. I think they are that much better of a team overall than the Patriots, just in terms of team composition. Phillip Rivers, clearly a better quarterback than this Tom Brady we are seeing right now. His weapons that he's throwing to are by far and away more dynamic than anything that exists on the Patriots. And on top of all that, the defense for the Chargers is playing better. Lots of things to point to and say, hey, man, Chargers are hot. They're a better team. They're going to win this game. The problem is it's just going to be extremely difficult for them to get up and give you an A-plus performance, which you will have to do playing against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick coming off a bye in Foxborough. Like, this is just a brutal spot for them. And, it's tough because I feel like we all kind of secretly like Phil Rivers and some of his facial expressions and some of his energy on the field is fun to watch him. It's fun to pull for him. And it feels a little bit like he's coming to the end of this run. And we want him to kind of just get it done and make a Super Bowl finally. But I don't think it's happening, and I don't think he's getting by the Patriots. And I don't think that the previous records really mean much. 0-7 versus Tom Brady, I don't think is particularly meaningful, especially because the 2 playoff games they had against the Patriots, the Chargers should have won both those games. They really should have. It was fluky ass plays in the first game, especially when they were 14-2 in San Diego. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Who was the guy that intercepted it on 4th and 10 and then got strips up? I can't remember that guy's name, but that was unbelievable. Troy Brown stripped him, right? Yeah, it was just incredible, just crazy. And the fact that they came back and won that game was so fluky. And then the undefeated Patriots teams, Philip Rivers on a torn ACL goes to Foxborough and absolutely goes toe to toe with that team. It was extremely impressive. So I don't think that the historical context there is really an indicator to back the Patriots. I just feel like this is too much to ask of a team that you've been pushing. You've had your foot on the gas for so many weeks now, and you're traveling on the road for the 3rd straight week. And oh, by the way, it just happens to be in New England. Oh, just happens to be against Belichick and Brady. I agree with Donnie's look on the under. I think that's probably the best look on this one because the likelihood that you see the Chargers just go scorched earth and really put scoreboard pressure on the Patriots is very low. And that means the Patriots can afford to play a little bit of ball control. They can afford to play a little bit of field position in this. They can lean on their strength right now, which is their offensive line and their rushing attack. Crazy to say that about the Patriots, but that's where their strength is right now. And, the Patriots can be run against. The Patriots do concede. They do have a little bit of still of the classic Belichick DNA of bend but don't break. I wouldn't at all be surprised if this game is sort of decided by mostly field goals instead of touchdowns. And if you're going to hang a total like 47, give me under in that one all day long.
Yuck. Chris Blanchard says, play the prop white over receiving yards. Chargers struggle covering running backs. And the yuck wasn't about your breakdown. Sorry. I don't want you to get the wrong idea there. I'm just extremely concerned with where my capping has taken me right now. My man, Steven Ala, a Marine whom we love very much on Low Bag, says, frigid playoff football New England. This is our identity. This is who we are. I have seen 0 people say they are interested in the over. A lot of people liking the Patriots here. Donnie, one more look. Chargers at Patriots. I know you're leaning under. Any other feels?
Yeah, no, look, I don't know how I can go. I just see the short price, and I think something is up here, somebody knows something a little bit more. And Whale Capper is right. You're looking at another team, and this isn't a team that's coming from New York City. They're not coming from Pittsburgh. They're not coming from Baltimore. Short little junket up there. You're going to play Baltimore, which you did last week. Fly in, fly back, now fly back in. And let's not forget about last week against an offense that couldn't get out of its own way. Again, I'm not taking anything away from the Charger defense. That was outstanding what they did. But now you're going to come with a more multifaceted offense, drop another 25 degrees, and another road game. You're not asking the Patriots to cover 7, 7.5, or 10. And I understand the way the Chargers are playing, the way they play on the road, but something just leads me to believe if this game is like a 3-point game in the fourth quarter, somehow, some way the Patriots are going to find a way to get that cover, kick a field goal to make it 6 or a big stop. And I joked about it this week already with Teddy on our show, That Betting Show, is saying, keep an eye on the fourth quarter when it's 24-17 Patriots with 1.5 minutes to go, and Philip Rivers is closing his ears like this and going like this. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. the communication system, which has gone out so many times over the years in Foxborough, in the biggest spots in the fourth quarter, it's coming this weekend, and I want to be on the right side of it. But, without the jokes,
That's right.
I think the Patriots are able to win and get the cover, and I think it'll stay under the tub. I'm thinking maybe a 24-17 type game, maybe 24-14, lower scoring here. I just don't see the 70-yard touchdown, the 3 plays, 68 yards, and a touchdown in this game. I'll lean under in this one.
Ooh, not getting any less uncomfortable.
What
are you seeing here?
You forgot the Ernie Adams effect, man. You forgot to account for Ernie Adams' pink stripes, man. The headset going out. That's funny. I forgot. I completely forgot about the shenanigans. But it sure would set up a fun rematch if we get Colts Patriots in the AFC title game, huh? That'd be
a little
something.
Deflated football, sure.
Yeah, man. Ooh, that'd be good for business for the NFL, huh? A little week of reliving Deflategate, which is about 4 years old. People would eat that up. No, let's see. So the last couple points I want to make here, I do think that the Chargers should start. One of the reasons that it's easy for me to sit here and say third week in the row is going to matter is because I feel like we started seeing it a little bit last week, right? The Chargers were not crisp. They did not absolutely live up to their potential, right? How many opportunities did they have to put that game away long before they actually come away with the win? Many. They could have. They threw out the most conservative vanilla BS I've seen in years in that first half after coming up with that fumble deep in red zone territory. Punch that in. Put this, put a stamp on this game and, put some pressure on this rookie quarterback. Like, what are you doing? They run the ball like 3 times and kick a field goal. That was pathetic. Anyway, if you come in with that kind of mentality, if you come in with that kind of approach, you're dead from the start going up against the Patriots. And on top of that, did the defense for the Chargers start to concede get a little bit tired in the end? Was it because it wasn't just they were playing prevent defense? Like they were still aggressively going after Jackson. The same kind of game plan that they had in the fourth quarter that you saw for the rest of the game. And yet, lo and behold, here's Lamar Jackson with the football in his hands in the fourth quarter with the 6-point deficit and a chance to win the game against you. And if you put Tom Brady in that situation, I got bad news. You are losing. And if the Patriots somehow, some way don't come away with the victory here, will it be surprising? Not really. They're not a very good team. They don't have very good players. This is probably the worst roster that they've ever put around Tom Brady, and Tom Brady looks old and hurt. I think Tom Brady clearly dealing with an MCL sprain, if not a tear, and this is the worst iteration of the Patriots that we've seen in a long time. Best case scenario for me personally, we get Chiefs Patriots or Chiefs Colts in the AFC title game, and I cannot wait to take a swing against this Patriots team. Even the Colts in their 4th straight game on the road going into Foxborough is going to be a great look next week if they get there. And but ideally we get a Chiefs win, we get a Pats win, and you get a nice little bettable line like KC -3, KC -3.5, and I will be swinging away on alternate spreads because KC is going to absolutely thump them.
Wow, a wildly interesting breakdown of that game, guys. And now we go into the final game of the divisional round. Eagles at Saints. I fear this is another spot where everybody is going to be against me. I said last week that I believe in Big Dick Nick very much. He came through for me, and I'm going back to the Big Dick well. I'm taking Eagles on the spread, and I'm also taking the Eagles to win straight up. Open Saints -9 now, Saints -8 across the board. Total open to 51 now, a mix of 51s and 51.5s. I feel like this spread is disrespectful to Big Dick Nick. I feel this is disrespectful to the Super Bowl champion. Breeze's arm, to me, looked like it was getting tired late in the season. I know he's had 2 weeks rest, but if you watched him closely those last few games, his passes didn't have a lot of juice. Is it possible the Saints might take the Eagles a little bit lightly after that 48-7 trashing? Can Nick Foles win 3 road playoff games in a row? Probably not. The Eagles have won outright in each of Foles' past 6 starts as an underdog. 4 of those wins coming in the postseason. The Eagles are playing the best ball of the year. Saints finished in the top 5 in the league in rushing and passing offense for the second year in a row. Breeze posted a league-leading 89.7 total QBR in home games this season, the second highest since ESPN began tracking it. Highest is Aaron Rodgers in 2011. Saints had a 30.4 defensive efficiency at home, second worst in the league. Over is 9-0 in Saints' 9 postseason games. Saints at home have averaged 40 points per game in the last 5 games Breeze has played. They're 5-0 at the Superdome in the playoffs. And I'm concerned to hear your guys' breakdown. I'm concerned. But nothing excites me more than Donnie Rightside breaking down Eagles games. Donnie, am I nuts?
I don't know if you're nuts on this one, but last week looking at the game, I mean, styles make fights again in that game last week. I didn't think the Eagles would win, and the double doink helped us, move on to yet another round. But I thought the Eagles would be able to keep it close within the 6.5, just the way the Chicago players. I mean, the Bears play great defense, and they don't lean on their offense to score points. They lean on their offense to keep them in the game and not make mistakes. And I think the Eagles played right along with that, did very well. But when you're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles and saying, like, hey, Nick Foles is a good quarterback, I understand that. He is a really good quarterback. But when you're looking from a pressure position standpoint there, they played a very good game against the Houston Texans and almost blew that game. Why? Because Deshaun Watson, down the stretch, was a capable passer. He was able to elude the pass rush, which is the best part about the Eagles' defense, and feast on that secondary. Then you had the Eagles go on the road and beat Washington. Yeah, they shut him out. Great performance. That was like a midget football league, type of offense that Washington was running by the end of the year with the amount of injuries and the players and the personnel they had. Then you went into the playoffs and you said, okay, well, we're going to get the Chicago Bears. The offense isn't, a humming machine that hangs 35 points a week. They want to score anywhere between 21 to 24 points and say our defense is the best in the league, and we're going to win those football games. That completely changes again this week. In order for the Eagles to win this football game, Jimmy, we're going to have to see a game, to me, similar to what you saw in the Super Bowl where Nick Foles goes nuclear. 380 yards, 4 touchdown passes. Because the one thing that the Eagles are going to struggle with in this football game is lining up toe-to-toe with the offense of New Orleans. Very good offensive line. So will they be able to shut down the Eagles' pass rush? Probably not. But they're going to be able to isolate matchups in the secondary similar to what they did in that 48-7 romp. Now you say, well, wait a second. Saints only gave up 7 points, so they should be able to lean on their defense. Nick Foles in this offense completely different heading into this football game than what you were with Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was holding the ball longer, therefore you can get to him because the Saints do have a decent pass rush, strip sack fumbles, forced plays, interceptions. That all took place in the Dome. What Nick Foles is going to give you, he's going to throw an interception or two, but he's going to get the ball out quickly. You're not going to have as many chances to sack him, and if the last game was any determination, the Saints were getting pressure. Why is that? Lane Johnson's one of the best right tackles in football. He was on one leg playing with a high ankle sprain. He's completely healthy in this one. If you've seen it over the past couple weeks, that Eagles front line is formidable. They can't run the ball, the Philadelphia Eagles. They have no play. Like, Darren Sproles is a nice player. He's like 38 years old. He can run around real quick, and he should be a little bit of an asset on turf. Wendell Smallwood is atrocious. Jalen Adams is atrocious back there as a running back. The Eagles are going to throw this ball 35 to 40 times and pull no stops. So before I get into the side here, points in this one. I think they're going to go way over the total in this one. Both teams approaching or surpassing 30 points in this one.
Wow, a lot of people agreeing with that over on the chat. Whale Capper, very interested to hear your breakdown here.
So number one, I got to say, first of all, actually, Jimmy, way to throw us for a loop with the Saints hat. And then come out and say Big Dick Nick Foles is going to win the game. Here I am thinking, this is going to be interesting here. And so, so we go with a little bit cooler. Donnie's not feeling, confident in the Eagles to the tune of they're going to win. They're going to score points. I got good news for Jimmy. If you like Nick Foles in this game, if you think he can win, if you think he can cover, you're going to love what I have to say next. Nick Foles has no chance in this game. He has no chance, and he is going home. It is over. The Nick Foles dream run of playoff wins is over. It's over. I cannot bury him fast enough. This guy continues to beat me on the football field somehow. I did not have proper respect for him last week. I was a dead man walking last week anyway, because not only was I against Donnie on the Eagles and the Bears pick, which has been a bad sign for me over the course of the show. But on top, I'm backing Mitch Trubisky as a first year quarterback in a really relatively tight game. That was a poor pick by me. Got an under, which balanced it out a little bit, but still it was a bad play. This week, completely different scenario. The Eagles, I would take absolutely no part of in terms of either being competitive in this game or scoring points. I think the Saints defense is underrated. I think their ability to rush the passer is underrated. I think their coverage is maligned, but you have an absolutely outstanding cover corner in Lattimore who's going to take away maybe the key piece for Nick Foles, which is Alshon Jeffrey. I would expect to see Nick Foles get shook by a couple of early picks in this one and play a lot more conservatively than we've seen in the past, which isn't going to work when you're down by 14 points to Drew Brees and the Saints in the Superdome. This place is going to be absolutely rocking on Sunday. This is the part one of a 3-part play that is the coronation of Drew Brees as he heads into retirement probably, and Sean Payton heads into whatever he does next. But the Saints are without a doubt the highest likelihood team to win the Super Bowl, the way I handicap the rest of the NFL and the teams that are available and their paths to victory. And this is a spot where I do not think they mess around. I do not think the motivational angle of the fact that they showed no mercy against the Eagles in the first matchup, I don't think that comes into play whatsoever. I think you have a very confident Saints team deliver a beating here. If I had to look at a total, I'm probably looking at an under because I don't think the Eagles break 17 points in this one. Their team total is a little too low for me to get involved with. I think this game ends somewhere around 31-17. 35-17, something like that. I think it looks probably a lot like what we saw Saints Falcons on Thanksgiving night. I don't know if you remember that game, but I think this is that'll be kind of the same way that this game plays out, where the Eagles are playing from behind and trying to make desperation plays the whole time, and it just doesn't seem to be working out, and people are scratching their heads like, I thought Nick Foles was a good playoff quarterback. Where's the clutch? What's going on? This is all, my hopefulness, obviously, because I need Nick Foles out of the playoffs. I can't take this anymore. Get out of here, buddy. Get out of here and give me back some of my money. And let's go, Saints.
How do you not believe in this guy, Nick Foles? I don't know how you don't believe in him. I believe in him. Donnie Rightside. I feel after breaking down all these games with you guys that I should make no bet this weekend. Donnie, final thoughts.
Playing with house money. Yeah, final thoughts on this game.
Yeah, you're the high hand. Yeah, man, you're the high hand. Don't lose your confidence just because we don't agree with you.
Well, it's not just you guys; it's the entire chat. But
well, we're tilting the pot here, man. This is not a fair fight necessarily. we're definitely ganging up on you, I would say.
Donnie, make me feel better. Final thoughts.
Look, I've been wrong a lot on the Eagles, winning games or being able to pull games out or not having the right feel in them, but it's been pretty close. And this number just seems about right at -8, because to me, honestly, when I take a reflective look and just not being a homer and say, because I've bet against the Eagles and bet against the Eagles in circumstances, but I still root for them because they're my favorite team. But in an honest assessment here, when it comes down to the fourth quarter with the Eagles covering this game, you're more likely to see the Eagles trying to cover a back door in this game than you will say, let's just say 34-31 Eagles. And I hope I'm wrong in every way being an Eagles fan, but that's just the way I see it. The Dome down there with Drew Brees, it's one of the more this isn't just played in like a vacuum where you're just going to line up on a high school field and get after it. You have a decided advantage where you can't hear on one side of the ball. That's such an advantage, and it shows with Drew Brees and his playoff numbers at home. Drew Brees in prime time type games, big situations at home, he always comes up big. And when you look at these teams when they match up, the offensive line should be completely healthy for the New Orleans Saints. A running back that can take it to the distance and torch the Eagles in the first game in Alvin Kamara. A hammered running back in Ingram. And also, let's not forget, which I know I caught some heat on Twitter for this one. Michael Thomas is a really good wide receiver. And I know Ted Ginn is old, but when you look at what Ted Ginn does for the New Orleans offense, he only played 5 games this year. But in those 5 games that he played with Drew Brees, they were 90 passing yards better per game that Ted Ginn played than when he didn't. And the Eagles secondary is so susceptible to getting beat deep in this. Ted Ginn is going to run in a straight line 45 times in this game and completely open up the middle of the field. Team total over for the New Orleans Saints. I even think the team total, I'm a little bit against Whale Capper in this one. I just see a lot of points in this one because New Orleans isn't going to let up. They're not just going to run the football and keep the Eagles out there. And I think the Eagles throw the kitchen sink. I'm talking 4th and 5s on their own 45 where you can't punt back to New Orleans if you want to beat them. I just see some mayhem going on that's really going to help you hit that total in this one. More than a side there, which I think the Eagles can cover, but in a backdoor situation, I just can't see both of these offenses letting up here. I just think they both get into the 30s, just the way I feel about it.
It's interesting because my initial breakdown was, just watching the Saints play in the second half. I was actually kind of leaning towards the under, with Whale Capper. But hearing your breakdown here, listening to everybody, reading everybody on the chat, I'm certainly not going to make that bet now. And even the Eagles straight up, I mean, you're getting 300, plus 300 or better. Just seems appealing, but, it's hard to make those. And I've not been doing it this year. I've not been making those big balls bets. I've been hanging on just getting the points and just enjoying the game rather than, losing your mind over actually winning outright. Whale Capper, final thoughts, final divisional game of the week, Eagles at Saints.
Well, first of all, don't get your points were valid on why you would back the Eagles. I don't think that I don't think you have a weak case at all. I don't think you're looking at trends that are meaningless, or you're looking at real information, which I think is somewhat valid. Like, Drew Brees has worn down both of the last 2 seasons. Clearly, Sean Payton has completely shifted his offensive approach to be more reliant on the short pass, more reliant on the running back, because he wants to keep Brees' arm somewhat intact, and they knew they needed home field advantage to have a shot at the Super Bowl. They knew it, right? They pushed hard through that middle of the season, getting impressive wins against the Rams, against the Eagles, against the Vikings. They played some tough teams and they beat them, right? They gave it all throughout that middle of the season. And without a doubt, were they running on fumes a little bit when they got to the Cowboys game and they got beat on the road? Absolutely. Were they running on fumes a little bit as they kind of were able to eke out wins against the Panthers? Absolutely. All of that said, they've had 2 weeks to rest and prepare for this. Sean Payton, Drew Brees are extremely experienced quarterback and coach right there. And this tandem has their eyes on the prize. And this game will be the passing of the torch from the previous Super Bowl champions to this year's Super Bowl champions, in my opinion. And if they don't get the cover, it is what it is. But I really feel like this game comes down to, say, 31-17. Saints get a win. And, I think, kind of like Donnie laid out, the Eagles are going to have to be risk takers in this one. I just don't see them converting these 4th and 5s in their own territory. I think they, in the second half of this game, you're hoping that they get back in and, the Saints make the key stops because they have the home field advantage. They have the crowd behind them. This is not a trivial home field advantage for the Saints. It absolutely matters. And we have not seen the Eagles get a truly impressive road win, in my opinion. I hang last week's win more on Nagy's offensive philosophy and Mitch Trubisky playing poorly through the first half of that game than I really want to give the Eagles credit for. Is that sour grapes because I have a personal problem with Nick Foles at this point? Maybe. But here it is what it is. And if you want to back the hot hand and Nick Foles, clearly the team is playing better for him for some reason. I can't explain it. There's something that goes on in that locker room motivationally, where they have confidence in themselves. They play hard for this guy. I just don't think it's going to matter on the road in this situation against a team that is prepared and rested and, has the tools to hit them where they can get hurt.
I hear that. I absolutely hear that. Just one last note. I want to ask Donnie this. Barry Miller says Eagles looked very good on D last week. My man Jose says anyone looks good on D against the Bears. Donnie, does the Eagles defense stand any chance at slowing the Saints down?
Well, I mean, it's hard. I don't know how many teams actually can slow the Saints down overall, because when you looked at the game last week, the Bears had a pretty, concerted effort to say, Let's lean on our defense at home. We still have a young quarterback. Let's not make that big mistake. And you saw once the Bears sort of started to open it up, throwing double moves and down the field, they were moving the football against the Eagles defense. You don't think Sean Payton's sitting back here going, this team bites so much on double moves, we're going to run like 30 of them out here and just have them guessing all the way all across the field. When you get aggressive versus the Eagles secondary, really, really good things happen. And good quarterbacks and good offensive lines can do that. Look, there's no Jalen Mills back there. There's no, Ron Darby. You're down to guys who have played out of their minds the past couple weeks. But when you talk about playing out of their minds, again, it was the Washington offense and it was the Bears offense. You're in a dome on a fast track against maybe the best quarterback of all time with a lights-out play caller. It's going to get interesting in the dome for sure.
Oh, it's going to be just an incredible week of football, and we aren't going anywhere. We are sticking to this Friday time slot. It's been so enjoyable having Whale Capper for the whole time and being able to take our time with these games. I've enjoyed it just immensely. I look forward to this show all week long. We've had incredible stuff from our chat too. All these guys giving us so many great insights. Anil Frank, Big Ragu, Jay Peach, Sackdown King, Troy V, Ganja Gamers, Dexter Rojas, my man Dex out of Hawaii, Casey Koenig, Flipper 13, straight out of Vegas, Flipper 13, Noli Knows, the man who's making unders great again. What a great group it is to run with Greg 007, Aaron Leah, Chris Blanchard, Underdog, all you guys. Thank you for all the energy that you put into the show and give us all your insights. It means so much to us, and it makes us so excited to get a chance to do this show in front of you guys because you just inspire us nonstop. You guys, what a treat it is to run with you. What a tough weekend this is. Oh, God, I'm going to be hitting the bottle hard tonight, man. I got to figure out what the hell I'm going to do. I just don't want to go up against everybody on every bet. It's one thing on one game, but on every single play, it seems like it's a little much. Whale Capper, can you let us know where we can find you on Twitter and any shows you've got coming up, and give a big shout out to the chat before we head out?
Yes, thank you guys. As always, I'll echo all of Jimmy's sentiment. And Jimmy, I'll tell you, this is a high leverage situation for you, because if you're right about all of these, then you gain all of the credibility in the world, because you will have called a lot of these. We're in the playoffs. These teams are freaking good. All of these teams are so good. The better team is potentially on the road in a bad situation in definitely in 2 of these games, maybe in 3 of these games, right? So you clearly have coin toss matchups. Fluky things are going to decide these. How teams get started and how the game plays out is going to mean so much. So don't go hitting the bottle just because you think you've lost these plays before they started. That's ridiculous. This is going to be a fun weekend. These are going to be super fun games. Official predictions, I'm looking for 35-31, Chiefs win. Andrew Luck gets the backdoor cover, end of the game with a touchdown. I'm looking for 31-23, Rams with a narrow cover, easy over. And then I'm looking for, I say easy over, 54 points and 49 is not easy, obviously, but I don't think that that's really going to be in doubt. And then on 23-20, Patriots get the win, goes under the total. And then lastly, 31-17, Saints punch their ticket to the NFC title game, where they will be hosting the Rams, and can't wait to cap that one. That's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. So if you like this content, you can obviously find me on Twitter. If you don't already follow me, I'm at whale_capper. Australian Open gets started on Sunday. I'll be doing some videos with the SBR crew, Natalie and Team Bankroll, starting on Sunday, and we'll be handicapping match by match and futures and all that stuff. So be sure to tune in on that. Sunday before the Patriots game should be interesting tennis talk.
Yeah, exciting sports ahead of us. Donnie Rightside, my man, what a treat it is to work with you week in and week out. For my first opportunity. I can't wait to see you down here in Costa Rica for the Betcast for the Super Bowl. We've got a lot of exciting things to talk about. We'll be talking about on our shows moving forward. But Donnie, could you put a bow on this bad boy and send us into the weekend?
Yeah, Jimmy had a really good week last week. And, selfishly, maybe me and the whale capper are saying, look, if Jimmy does well again, this show is going to have Jimmy and 2 new cappers next year. So hopefully it doesn't hurt us too bad and we can still reappear next year as opposed to getting our butt kicked. But, I mean, what a fun ride it's been. Divisional round football week is my favorite week of the year because you reintroduce the big boys back in against the teams that are hot and have made a run and are still trying to make it to the Super Bowl. But this comes down, look, we switched times here and gained even more followers, reaching about 350 people today on the show. That's amazing. A lot of you guys are at work, driving around in your car, just chiming in. And to get that amount of support in the middle of a Friday when you're just trying to get through your workday for just 4 football games, show you that you guys care, and we really appreciate there in the chat box. So thanks for sticking with us all year long. We'll do it again next Friday. And yes, we are going to have a nice little betcast again in Costa Rica. The one thing I was told that Whale Capper can't go because he is, you see the conditions that he works out of there. We always say he's in witness protection, so he probably can't leave the state. We'll have a good time doing it. But once again, folks, thanks for tuning in again. We'll do it again next Friday. Hopefully, you guys cash all those tickets. But again, information is king. If you like what you hear, support the channels here. I know Whale Capper's doing a lot of things with the channels. Jimmy, as well as myself, got a new show with That Betting Show. Support the channels. We love sports. We love to talk about sports with you guys out there. And thanks for tuning in again for the Audible. We'll do it again next Friday. Good luck this weekend, folks. There we go. Good show, fellas, man. That was fun, man. That goes so fast. Damn.